Viewers, it is my pleasure to introduce Professor RV to a hangout. We are going to talk about a very new subject that we have never talked before. Before we talk about that, let's welcome Professor RV. Professor RV, namaskaram and welcome to P Guru's channel. Professor RV, we have been mulling over this for a while now about what has been happening to, different ways in which meritocracy is being, harmed. It is not just in India, it is across the world now. It has become a menace of sorts. So I thought, and I guess we both kind of agreed, that why don't we talk about creating an island or islands of excellence where merit is the primary driver for a person to come and live in that area, whether it is temporary or permanent, and also there are some other riders. So without further ado, I'd like you to expand on this, sir, and explain why we need to do this thing to start with.
So thank you very much, Ayer. This at the outset, I should give a pronounce to all the audience of P Gurus, and let us be very clear on one thing. From 1980s, I have been traveling, of course, to US and back and teaching at some places and UK, and I've been telling large number of my friends at US. Some of them are really very rich that they should think in terms of creating an MIT or a Harvard or and similarly Wall Street Journal or CNN and they will all be enthusiastic, but at the same time they will after my discussion and other thing is over, it will be kept in the back burner. For instance, many of you may be knowing nearly 1,000 temples have been constructed in US by people of Indian origin, plus minus. And each temple they would have spent at least 1.5 million US dollar. At least I'm telling. Some temples it will be much, much higher. And temples have been constructed from the 70s actually, if I recall correctly.
Right,
There are
right,
some
right.
old temple which is so that Venkateshwara temple near Princeton, or it's supposed to
Pittsburgh,
be the,
Pittsburgh, yeah, Pittsburgh. Just
it's
yeah,
supposed to be one of the oldest. Anyhow, the point I want to stress is 1.5 billion they have spent on all this. It's okay. It was required another thing, but of that, at least zero point 0.5 we had spent on creating a campus like this MIT or any other large medical school, law school, journalism, business, and the regular engineering and other thing. It would have created a huge amount of impact actually, and quite a large number of academicians. Good percentage is actually people of Indian origin, both in US as well as in UK and Australia today. You take areas like business schools, areas like medical schools, you find so many number of people of Indian origin working there. So getting qualified people was also not a difficulty. Other than that, of course, I was told by some people nowadays they find it very difficult to get people to run these temples. The first generation which started the temple were very enthusiastic. Actually, I was told in Atlanta in those days there used to be stiff competition to become the committee member. You have to subscribe some 25,000 US dollar or 50,000 US dollar or something to become a committee member. But now the next generation or the third generation, they are not as much enamored. They won't mind. They visit the temple and other thing and have pongal and whatever is served there on the Saturdays or pick up something for home also. But other than that, because running a temple is not a joke, it's a continuous type of an effort which is required in terms of musicians, in terms of temple priest, in terms of cleanliness, hundreds of other things are there. Agama Shastras are to be followed. And the point I want to stress is so much amount of funds have been spent, nothing wrong about it. But a part of it, at least, one can now think in terms of spending on what I am suggesting. Now, in India also, now we find it is becoming extremely difficult to have institutions of excellence. One is not that excellence is not recognized or anything, but there are democracy has got its own constraints. For instance, reservation is up to 69% in Tamil Nadu. And that is put into a clause of the constitution which cannot be questioned in the court also. That itself is being, a case is pending for the last nearly 25 years. So, and many other states are also coming out with 80-85% and other thing of seats to be reserved. Then we have this horizontal reservation. That means in terms of very clear cut, like as I told you, 20% for SCSTs, then another 29% for OBCs. So 49%, 49.5. In some states, it is as high as 69%. And the coverage is also very increasing in many states. In many states, roughly 75 to 80% of the people are classified as either OBC or SCST or anything. And some of the states have accommodated Muslims and Christians also into the system. So this is second is horizontal part of the reservation. For instance, let me give an example. In Tamil Nadu, last 2-3 years, top 100 ranks are more or less OBCs only. 1 or 2 people are only from so-called other communities. So, but the courts have decided, even if people come on their own basis into the other, what one can call general list, it will not be counted against the OBCs. That means they will come in the general list, and the OBC reservation of 49% will also have to be followed. This is something basically all over the country. If you see in some other place, I have told about 20 families having hold over the country. Almost all these 20 families are OBC families. So this is something, and in a democratic system where voting decides things, it's very difficult to reverse this easily, unless the communities themselves say that we would give up our position or something, which I don't think will take place. That is one dimension of the issue. We have created some institution like ISRO or atomic energy and other thing, but very few. Increasingly, we find capable people are moving out of the country. Roughly, the estimate suggests 45 to 50 billion US dollar. 45 to 50 billion US dollar is spent by Indians in foreign countries for education. It's not a small sum or anything. This is the students who are spending, and there are also students who don't spend, in the sense who get some scholarship or who get some teaching assistantship and other thing, who move on. So there was a massive exodus started in the 60s, one can say that, 60s, 70s, 80s, from India. People who did engineering, people who did their other type of courses, primarily engineering students, they all moved to the. So jokingly, as my colleague used to say, this is outsourcing reproduction by the US society. He says US women are not anymore enthusiastic about producing enough children. So they thought the best way is to identify the group, like in India, where children are produced and given a lot of culture and way of living and other thing, and then they are highly educated in their respect, and we take them over. So reproduction has been outsourced to Indian, and they are very good people. In the sense, by and large, Indian students are considered as not troublesome or not doing any overall. And also, it used to be jokingly told, I remember once in the Washington Belt, it is called, and the outer ring type of a thing. And I was going in the car with my colleague and his wife. And it was a Saturday evening, I think, Saturday night. And almost all the buildings were, it's a, off day. And so everybody, the Americans all would be doing something like partying or, golfing or basketballing or whatever, ING activities. So some of the buildings, lights are on in some floors. My colleague's wife told, those all will be Indians only, sitting there and working, even on a Friday night or Saturday night. She was joking. Every building, whenever we see a light on in the top, she would say, one Indian is sitting there, like that. So there is a general enthusiasm because these people were considered as reasonably hardworking and the least type of a troublesome. They do not create any other type of an issues or anything. Point I want to stress is that was a, of course, long before in the last century itself, it is told significant amount of Sardars moved into US and they started this Gadar movement and those days. That is over. I'm talking about recent times. So the second type of a influx have to take place. And people are waiting for their green card, another thing. And several other European countries, some work permit is given another. I think the time has come for us to really seriously think in terms of acquiring some islands. There are some islands in the Caribbean area which are available for sale actually. I am told some billionaires have their own islands, huge ones actually, where you can access it only by helicopter or something. Unless he invites, you cannot go there. They have their mansions and so we can acquire some 2 3 islands adjacent, very big, and start a university. Set up a country there. Call it anything, Sanadana country or Dharma country or Hindu country. And these universities are not for teaching just Bhagavad Gita or Upanishad or anything. They are general universities like any other engineering, law, everything, all the subject. And getting faculty is not difficult. If you want to pay well, all over the world, faculty will be enthusiastic in coming on a permanent basis or as a visiting basis. And what is required for the faculty to come? Two things are critical. One is a good schooling for their children. Second is good health facility for their parents. If these two are fulfilled, faculty will be interested in coming over and staying there. So that's not a very difficult thing. So we should create what I call islands of excellence. And we should focus on areas of research which are cutting edge, not ongoing type of thing, which are futuristic. For instance, we are talking about electric cars, then what is the nature of the lithium, how the oil economy will come to an end, how the non, what one can call type of a new type of uh, areas of energy will be used, space related research, undersea related research. Some of these are extraordinarily cutting edge. In India, traditionally, government used to do it in the 50s, some of those areas. But now government doesn't have enough funds. And the private sector is not in a position to do it also because we are talking about billions of dollars and other things. So we would be able to attract because of the talent and because of the quality. So we should focus on cutting edge. So the question naturally come, why can't we do it in US itself? Now, US is also having huge amount of regulatory framework. Everywhere they will say that you have this diversity. You have a board in which one woman should be there, one Mexican should be there, one black should be there, one LGBTQ should be there, and zoning problems associated with conventional energy usages and I'm sure IR would agree with me about significant amount of regulatory framework is coming up in US also. It's not very easy as it used to be. And then, so we should have least amount of regulation. That is one important thing we should know. And the people who go there can also be citizens of that country. These islands can have their own passport and visa system. They can also be citizens of India. There is nothing wrong about it. So mother country will always be there and these islands. And according to me, we should think of creating some 10 islands, some near US, some in the Australia side, some in the Atlantic side, and they all should become centers of excellence. Everybody should be talking about them. Have you been to that? Have you been to this? We can name these islands different. If you want, you can take our traditional names from here as Ganga, Saraswati, Yamuna, and other thing. Or you can treat it in terms of different mountain or different rishis, Bharadwaj Rishi and that type of The island should be clearly indicating that it belongs to people of Indian origin. We should control it. Chinese can come and study there. They can do research also, and Koreans can come. Any person can come. Nothing wrong. But the control of these should be with us. That is the most important thing. And as time goes on, in the cutting edge areas, when we begin to do research, some of that can be replicated in the market in India. India is a very huge market. Everybody agrees to that. And we can, the concept of excellence is losing ground within the country, within India. You see, in a democracy, it is very, very difficult to focus on excellence unless, because there is a number game everywhere. Everybody is enthusiastic in terms of collecting number, which means social justice, which means diversity, which means, blah, blah, blah. It's a very, very difficult thing to have in terms of what one can call concentrated, focused attention on future areas. This is what we should be seriously thinking about. And once we develop the product, processes, and other things, that can always be used within the country, that is within India, which is a very large market and a very large place. And there need not be any friction or anything. People who are in a position to apply from here, and obviously this is a business proposition. Let's be very clear about it. It's not charity or something. But whoever is really identified as extremely good, and if they are not having adequate means, income, then these centers of excellence can provide them scholarship or something, and then like what currently is being done by the US universities. And otherwise, it can be a paying proposition. It can be in pharma field, it can be in biotechnology, biology. For instance, in finance, there is a neurobiology being talked about more than behavioral science. It has gone into neurobiology. So there are so many cutting edge areas where funding is also very difficult in India today in terms of government meager allocation and other things. So we have to think in terms of billions or trillions. And we should also have a global media network in these islands. Today, for instance, we have BBC for UK, then we have CNN, then we have Al Jazeera for the West Asia countries. India doesn't have a global network as of now. Beyond is trying to become a global network, and there are some reports suggest Republic also may float a global network. Anyhow, these centers should have a global network, and obviously these centers should have stock exchanges which are highly regarded, and they should be technology based centers. It's not the old traditional type of a thing. All that, everything should be technology based. Not only that, this can encourage, for instance, in US today, if the person is on H1B and his spouse is also highly qualified and educated, but the spouse find it tough to get into job market because of lot of regulatory framework and other things. And during Obama time, it was encouraged. Then during Trump time, it is being questioned and all that. So, but in our islands of excellence, both husband and wife, if they are capable and qualified, can be working. We can create a huge number of 24-hour food courts, and as well create child care facilities and other things. So they typically the housewife need not necessarily worry about cooking and other. He can also do what one can call the regular type of office work, and the food courts can provide them any type 24 hours, any type of food can be made available to them. So we can be much more innovative in terms of using the productive of our people, which is according to me significant portion of it wasted in US because of the local regulations and other things. So that also we can think about. So we have to think. This is not for the next 1 year or 2 year we are talking about. Kindly let's be very clear about it. We are talking about next 40-50 years. That is the time span of strategy I am visualizing. It's not that somebody jokingly told me Nityananda has also got an island. That's not the idea behind that. Our islands are islands of excellence are totally different. And it is meant for next 40-50 years. So we should think ahead, and we should, otherwise we can't become Vishwaguru, just sitting in Chennai or sitting in Delhi and going on chanting Vishwaguru, Vishwaguru, nothing will happen. Here, the level of bravery is so high. For instance, roughly 16% of our GDP is in the form of direct and indirect taxes, state and central, both together. Out of 100 rupee of GDP, 16 rupee is roughly, I'm telling about taxes. If you look at the bravery, my estimate suggests it will be in the range of 15 to 20%. So what is given to government is also what is given to the government employees. You can imagine the amount with something like 200 lakh crores if we are having, and of that 15% itself will be a very huge amount, right? So 20% means 40 lakh crores. And so this is something, which is, we can go on complaining another thing, but much better to find alternate ways of doing things, recognizing excellence, encouraging excellence. And obviously these islands can also have dance, music, drama, all type of act, because there is a huge number of people who will be there to, this can encourage sports, various other. These are countries of excellence, actually. Let's be very clear about it. As long as you are good, you are recognized, there is no talk about any other than, are you capable? Are you in a position to deliver? That's all. Nothing more or nothing less. Let us, so these are, some people say, what is the point of talking about this? I'm sure some well-to-do Indians will be, of Indian origin, will be enthusiastic about it. I want to end with one thought. Swami Vivekananda used to say, if you have some good ideas, you sit inside a cave, deep inside a cave, and talk about those ideas to yourself, and they will spread outside. You don't have to go around shouting. He says the ideas are seeds which will spread, and somewhere along the line somebody will pick it up and then they will deliver. And that's the thinking process I am having behind communicating these ideas. Somewhere somebody will pick it up, and I am sure we will create islands of excellence, because we have to do it. And if we don't do it, nobody else will do it. And we have the capability. We have the, we have Aryabhattas, and we have people who have phenomenally Srinivas and Ramanujams of the contemporary times, recent times. Like that, we have phenomenal talented people. And the only thing is, it's like a coal covered with ash. We have to take a pipe and then slowly blow it, and the ash will go away and the fire will start. And that is the fire we want to start in these islands of excellence. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor RV. Viewers, when our videos play, you will see the subscribe button at the bottom right corner. You can subscribe to our channel anytime by clicking on that. And we would like you to spread the word. Please refer us to your friends and family, because we would like to get to the 1 million mark as quickly as possible. Thanks for watching. Professor RV, thank you very much, sir. And we'll be back again very soon.